Hello, can everyone hear me? Anyone hear me? You're muted, Gary.
Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect. So, as long as people can
Hello,
hear me,
everyone.
we're good to go.
Yep. Sorry again for the late start. Technical issues again. Right. As some will know, some won't know. Yesterday was the anniversary of the signing of the Magna Carta. So today's show's it's along them lines. I mean, most people know now. Me and Gary have been pushing a solution that the Barons gave us back in 2001. We've been pushing it still, and it's still available. And still needs to be understood. Also tonight, we're going to play a video of something that Gary and myself took part in back in 2018. Because a lot of people think that the movement sort of started when COVID did. It didn't. We've been doing this many years, and the video is actually of myself, Gary, and a number of others. We actually went to a Fabian Society meeting, and we actually played Sadiq Khan, Keir Starmer, Kate Green, and a number of other MPs under citizen's arrest.
Andrew Harrop.
Andrew Harrop, but yep. We placed them under citizen's arrest because we had evidence of crimes. Contrary to, and you'll see it in the video, contrary to a lot of belief, we was not escorted or kicked out of the building. We was actually asked nicely by the police if we would go outside and talk to them and stuff like that, to which we did. We did everything lawfully. None of us was arrested. We did later on submit the charges. This was done when myself and Gary was in the Dragons. Since then, the Dragons have kind of we left the Dragons and we set up Constitutional Movement Worldwide, CMW. But this was done whilst we was in the Dragons. It wasn't followed through after we left the Dragons. So as CMW, we took up the baton, as it were, and we actually carried on and we put the police under pressure. And we actually had the police, the Metropolitan Police, back the charges that we put forward to and they actually put the case to CPS with evidence of crimes proven, because the case we built, the evidence we put to the police, it actually proved they had committed the crimes. CPS didn't take it forward because not enough people backed it. You're going to see evidence of that. We're going to put up the crime reference number tonight as well on a document that you can still actually send into the police. We can still actually get CPS to go through this because there's no statute of limitations on treason. But first of all, what I'm going to do is we're going to play you a video of the actual undertaking that happened in 2018.
And you will see as well. You will see as well that we actually called the police ourselves. They didn't call the police on us. We called them ourselves for assistance.
We did, because because a lot of people we've seen. Yeah, many people, you've seen many people try and undertake citizen's arrest, things like that. But citizen's arrest, technically, it is your lawful duty, but also your lawful right. But it's technically to highlight a crime or to help stop a crime in process. We used it to highlight a crime, but you do actually have to notify the constabulary and have the constabulary intervene as well. You don't just get to like pick people up and throw them in prison. Citizen's arrest can be quite complicated, but it's quite easy in itself. All right. What we'll do is we'll watch the video. It's 20 odd minutes long, so hopefully you won't get too bored of it. But I apologise. The video at some point gets basically the sound and the video go out of sync at one point. I don't know why. This is not our video. Pretty much all our videos after the matter were taken off of YouTube and taken down, and this is pretty much the only full video of the event now. So bear with me and I shall play the video, and then you can see what we did back in 2018. And like I said, this did work. So when you get people say that we've done everything, we've exhausted all avenues, we haven't, because this avenue's still open. In fact, actually, there's two lots that we did. There's this one which actually got put to CPS, and we also have another lot of charges that was put on court record as well. This is not like going to a vaccine centre and putting them on notice and not actually notifying of the crime first. This was done all properly. This is how you do it. Right, so bear with me and I shall play the video.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Women don't stand behind Cities built by the women and men who came before us.
But these commitments have come easy. Solidarity. 2018 marks the first commitment.
But years on, it's time for a new generation of movements to make gender equality. It's time to.
Opportunity has to be equal. That period has to be equal. That representation has to be equal. I commit. I commit
to honouring those women behind every great city who have made a lasting impact on our society.
In 2018, it is time to commit to making our city the capital.
So tell us, London, as you make the New Year's resolutions, what will your commitment be? Behind every great city, and in every great country, we need leadership, courage, and an ambitious vision for the future. And I'm therefore really delighted that our opening speaker this morning is someone who has, as the most powerful elected Labour politician in the country, a track record of doing all of that. Can I ask you to welcome the former chair of the Fading Society and now the Labour Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to act peaceful, non-violent citizens arrest will now be named. Sadiq Khan, Kirsten, Kate Grimpy, Andrew Hallam.
Sorry, we stand under common law jurisdiction. If you touch us, you will be done for common assault. Please stand back. Do not touch us. Do not. Thank you. Do not touch us. That's common law. We have done for common assault. Do not touch us. We're not leaving. I paid for a ticket. Do not touch me. I paid no. Can I be reimbursed? Can I be reimbursed for somewhere far away. The police have been called on their way, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Nathan, that's Froze, if you're there. I'd cut that off. It's really poor, that is. They can watch it if they go on YouTube. You there?
In our English constitution. Ladies and gentlemen.
If that's sorted, bear with me.
Police is a rival, don't mind. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Khan is coming under citizens arrest. He will not be leaving. We'll be waiting. He has actually. It's the actual evidence to charge him.
Okay, so look at the rest. Can you sit quietly, please, or just leave? Can you either sit quietly or leave, please?
So you can sit down, Jim, then continue the power conference. I can assure you nobody is leaving. So when the police arrive, you'll be able to talk to them.
if you could sit quietly on leave, please.
Come on, Michael. Good.
Sit down, please, because we're getting. Please sit down, sir.
Knife, I would cut it there, mate, and let them watch it on YouTube. We can discuss it. We know what went on, because that's really bad, that is, mate.
I know, like I said, bear with me. My computer's running slow. I can't do anything until my computer catches up. They're doing this to me. Like, I do every time we go live on this thing. Well, bear with me.
Okay, let's just be patient, ladies and gentlemen.
Future trade relationships, future security relationships, and many other aspects of our future.
Oh, I don't know if anyone can hear me. Bear with me. Well, I must apologise. Basically, everything was completely perfect until we went live. I'm going to try and sort that out.
Yeah, but the video is on. Video is on our YouTube, so
yeah, and I can put the link up. The thing is, the video on our YouTube was done by somebody else, and there's bits on there. It's like we use section 3, not section 24A, but this is the full video. I'll either play that in a minute if I can get it to run again properly, or I'll put the link up. We'll play at the end.
But the other thing is, with that, ladies and gentlemen, there was all laughing there. Me and Nathan was furious when it happened. Is when the Trump flag was brought out, it took away everything that we was there for, because of course then we was labelled far right, Trump supporting, you know, bigots and all this bullshit. That's what wasn't there for. We had no idea that was going to happen, or we would have stopped it before it happened. It just, somebody snuck it in there and did it. But trust me, was very angry with that part of it, because it took away everything we was there for. That's not what we was there for.
Yeah, that's why, technically speaking, on most of the press coverage, we was labelled as far right Trump supporters, when it wasn't actually true. We was actually, like I said, basically, I'll try and play the video again in a minute. Basically, what happened there was we went into a Fabian Society meeting, which is technically a think tank for Labour, basically. Some people know who the Fabian Society is, some people won't. Just to give you a general gist, I mean, the logo for the Fabian Society is actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. I mean, so that could tell you pretty much all you need to know about the Fabian Society. But that's what we did. We actually went to the Fabian Society. We didn't gate crash. We done it all lawfully. We bought tickets. That's why no one could actually kick us off and thing. And that's why when the police get there, when you see the video, nobody interfered or molested us in what we was doing. The police was actually very kind and courteous with us on that day, and they did their job absolutely 100%. There's a lot of myths going about this video, because a lot of people say that we was dragged out or escorted out of the hall. No, we wasn't. The police actually asked us if we didn't mind, because there was a lot of heckling, if we'd go into the hallway so they could actually speak to us properly. So we did. So we agreed that the police were there now, time to deal with it. We did our part, go and now hand the stuff to the police, which we did. Evening, babe. You'll also see on that video, because there's a chief inspector of the Metropolitan Police there. Have a look at the stuff on his chest. We hand him a bunch of paperwork, and he has a look through, and that included the Magna Carta 1215, which we have gone on to prove that is actually still in force. So did the barons, actually. It included basically all our constitution, and the constable says quite clearly, yes, you are right, all these laws are indeed still in force, because they are. The government, especially Parliament, especially that branch of the Crown's sort of lackeys, as it were, don't want you to know that, because the very things we handed the constable is what actually governs the Parliament it governs the crown, it governs us, it governs everything. It overrides us all. It's what is actually there to keep us, the crown and parliament, in check. That's why you'll hear so many stories that we don't have a constitution. The fact of the matter is we do have a constitution. The Magna Carta 1215 was the beginning of that constitution. It was a founding document. The Magna Carta is actually the founding document that actually gave most of the world what we call unalienable rights. It's actually what gave us our freedoms, our liberties, our customs, and everything like that. It's what cemented it all to the point where we can't be slaves and can't be treated badly by any of these. They don't want you to know that, because if you uphold the Constitution, most of what Parliament's done is actually a criminal. It means they can face life imprisonment, and they don't want you to do that, because then what they're doing will stop. That's why back in 2001, the barons actually, because there's 20 under Magna Carta, there's 25 barons since 1215, and every time one dies, another one's put in place. There's always this shows you how Magna Carta is still in force, because only Magna Carta 1215, I believe, is the one that sets out that there has to be 25 barons. 25 barons are in charge of keeping the Constitution and everything in check. In 2001, when Parliament put through the Nice Treaty, barons actually invoked Article 61. Most people don't know this. In Magna Carta 1215, there's 63 articles. Article 61 its nickname is called the Kingslayer. It's been used before, and it can be used again. It's what you call the lawful avenue that we can undergo diffidacia. And what diffidacia is, it's removing fealty from the crown, because without our sovereignty, without our allegiance, the crown has no power. They have no right to rule. You'll see this in the coronation oath, because within the coronation oath there is a clause where the people can deny anybody they like the crown. But under Article 61, we can remove our allegiance to the crown, hand it to the 25 barons, and then the 25 barons are charged with running the country and putting the country back to how it should be, that it's correct, because the crown was given a chance. That's what you do under 61. The barons invoke it. The crown's given a chance to redress the wrongs that have been done. If that doesn't happen, it then becomes a matter of law. So it's not a case of whether you want to do this or not. It becomes a matter of law. By law, you have to do this, or you are indeed actually committing treason with Parliament and the crown. This is a part people don't actually know. This is the solution, the beginning of the solution to all of our problems. This is what removes the power from Parliament, so they can't keep doing things in our name. This is what means the WHO cannot have any control of us. It's what means the WF have no control over us, because once we actually undergo diffidatio, and we invoke Article 61, everything that is constitutionally repugnant, and that means anything that's against our constitution, is void. So all of the European treaties, everything the WF have done, everything the WHO have done, everything our government have signed with them, is voided. It becomes void at that moment.
And if people think, Nathan, that these are going to stop, you've only got to look at what's happened recently with the old Henry VIII law that they're trying to come in with through the back door. That was because the Lords, the House of Lords, ladies and gentlemen, voted against the government. I forget what it was on now, but they voted against them anyway, and the government didn't like it. So rather than just accept that they've been defeated, they're going to try and use this Henry VIII law to come in through the back door, where, like Nathan says, they can do with secondary legislation, where they can bypass the votes that they took and they lost, and get around it that way. And the barons in the House of Lords, they've got to be as pissed off as us. So now is, like Nathan said, now is the right time to strike while the iron's hot. It's now or never.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, because basically what a lot of people won't realise is most people would have been taking notice of what's happening in America, and the fact that Biden's using the Constitution unlawfully, kind of lawfully, but unlawfully and unconstitutionally, to try and stop somebody from taking power away from him and undoing what they've done. This is exactly the same situation we face with our Parliament. What Parliament are trying to do, they're trying to sign over us, all our rights, even our dignity, our right to dignity, to the WHO and the WEF. Now, we all actually do have a duty by law, so it's by law. So this is not a choice. It's kind of, it's like murder. It's like, if you don't want to commit murder, then you don't do it. Then you're not breaking the law. And so if you don't want to break the law, you've got to undergo 61. Otherwise, you are committing treason. And this is the problem. This is what people got to understand, okay? And this is what the government don't want you to know, and most of these people. And this is not freeman of the land stuff. Even though a big chunk, even though me and Gary do go against freeman of the land, we're constitutionists. We're not freeman of the land. But freeman of the land had a lot of what they were saying was absolutely correct. It's just they had a misunderstanding and they was implementing things in the wrong way. But when you're a constitutionalist, you understand your constitution. It's completely different. And that's why you get thrown, and a lot of people on YouTube throw about the words freeman of the land, because it's the same as calling someone a conspiracy theorist or something like that. They think it basically, for most people, go, oh, I'm not going to listen to him. Well, I would listen, because what's going to happen is what's happening now with like with what happened in the pandemic. If in case people haven't noticed, governments are now turning around and saying, well, it's your body. No one could force you. It was your choice. And that's what they're going to do to us. When we don't do nothing, they'll turn around and say, well, you had everything in law you needed to stop us. You didn't. So you consented to it. So you can't complain now. And this is the situation we're in.
Exactly.
People want solutions. And me and Gary have been saying for many, many years, we can sit here for the next 5 years and keep watching people have speeches about what we already know is wrong. Or we can now start talking about solutions. And like I said, me and Gary said, it's not infighting us thingy. Everybody should, all these people that want to put on days, I mean, myself and Gary, like I said, and a few other people, back in December, we put out, to give enough people time to get their tents and stuff like that, we put out that we was going to do, that everybody was going to get onto the Long March to Freedom 2. Now, you may have seen since then, there's been a number of other people that have used what we're using, it have some sort of wording of freedom in it, because they're trying to, these people aren't to think, ask them about solutions, okay? So all these people willing to stand up and spend thousands of pounds to have these days and these events, ask them, I don't want to hear about the problem, I want to hear about the solution. And you are saying, because these people ain't here, most of them ain't here to give you a solution. Most of them are here to basically tell you about a problem you already know about and take your money. This doesn't cost money. The solution doesn't cost money. It's basically literally a couple of pounds for the postage. That's all it is. And it's a 3-step process. So if you see anybody with any more than 3 steps in their process, they are leading you down a garden path. The barons put out the process themselves. Like I said, the barons, this is from the House of Lords. This is the highest court in our land. The Supreme Court is not the highest court in our land. It's the House of Lords. And if anybody was to know, and I can show you multiple conversations, Parliament even mentions the Constitution. But if anybody was to know what was constitutionally repugnant, and if we had a constitution, it'd be the barons, because they live by it. So when they invoked Article 61, I can assure you, Magna Carta 1215 is in full force. There is indeed, it is true, there is 4 constitutional statutes on our statute books. Again, a statute is pretty much a rule. It's not a law, it's a rule. And it's your choice, because there's been multiple, and it's actually treason, multiple Magna Cartas, 29, 79, and are all put out by successive kings, leaving out certain articles. Me and Gary talked about this before. Both in Magna Carta 1215 and every successive Magna Carta, in clause 1, you'll see the words, everything written hereafter basically is here in perpetuity. That means that in clause 1 of the document, it means everything that's written after that is there in perpetuity, and not the king nor Parliament can take that away without our consent. So when you see the other Magna Cartas, other than 1215, understand that is treason, because they have hid clauses from you. You'll also see the word perpetuity mentioned in clause 61 and clause 63. Article 61 is not a hard thing to understand. the Magna Carta can be because of the way it's written, but Clause 61 of the Magna Carta was deliberately written in what they call plain English. And the reason why it was done this way is because 99% of the world's population couldn't read and write back then. You got to remember, this is the year 1215. So it was designed in a way that sheriffs or somebody from the crown or the barons can go to every town and read out Clause 61. And when they read it out, it's in plain English. So whether you could read or write, you would understand exactly what needs to be done and exactly what you can do. And it is indeed in plain English, and it sets out exactly what you can do. And it does set out that it's your duty not only to go into 61, but you are to compel others. And anybody that you compel refuses to go into 61, they are treasonous. Therefore, they are criminal. And they are in league with the very people that do it. And the reason why, this is another reason why myself and Gary say politics and voting, it's void. It doesn't seem, because since 2001, there has been legitimate vote. This is a fact of law because the barons invoked Article 61, so Parliament is illegitimate. It's been a tumultuous assembly since, because the barons assume control. But the problem is the barons need to have the backing of the people. So we have to enter into 61, do our paperwork, and then all the power gets transferred to the barons. The crown just sits back, because and by the way, the only stipulation of what we're not allowed to do in Article 61 is we're not allowed to hurt the royal family. That's it. And it actually tells us in Article 61 that it is by law that we do not pay tax. We do not pay taxes, because to pay tax, it means you consent and you agree and you are funding criminal activity. So you shouldn't be paying any tax. You probably will have government agents and that not come down you. Most of it's because they're ill-educated. A lot of it is because that's what happens with tyranny and treason. When they can't get what they want with words, they often use violence. But this is where all the people need to start standing together and standing as one.
Yeah, and this is where, when you're in 61, this is where you can and should, and well, you do have the right to defend yourself. So if the police come bully boy tactics for you and your neighbours have got the right to defend yourselves without any repercussions, because like Nathan's already said many, many times, it goes in the chronological order of events. So if you're in your house, if we're all in 61 and they come round next door neighbour's house and start trying to drag them out, etc., then the rest of the people in that street can lawfully go over and remove them people who are attacking. And there'll be no repercussions, because that's what 61 is. That's why we keep telling people to go into 61, because it protects you. If you're not in 61, then you can still do it, but you probably face,
you will face charges, because basically, as far as the law is concerned, if you haven't entered into 61 and completed your paperwork, you're actually part of the treason, part of the crime. And to then attack somebody who's actually committing a crime makes you no better. Is the thing, and they will do it. But it's like Gary says, under 61, nobody can actually be prejudiced, do any prejudice against you. So this does not affect benefits. It does not affect your job. If you're sacked because you go into 61 and you do something, then your employer then makes themselves liable, or the benefits they make themselves liable, and it's called treason. So they face life in prison. Most people don't understand this, but we're not going to get. I mean, there is never been, and I can tell you now, just to use a recent one, look at Ukraine. Okay, in 2014, Ukraine, an area of Ukraine, voted against their government and voted to be part of Russia, because they didn't want to be governed by the Ukraine government no more, because it's corrupt. Do you know what that Ukraine government did? They started killing and bombing their own people, because they tried using violence to make them people change their mind. That's why the situation with Russia's happened, because by law and under international law, Putin was actually asked by the regions of Donbass and stuff like that to step in, because they was actually being killed for basically using their democratic right to say the government's illegitimate. and to remove their fealty, their allegiance, their consent to that government. And this is what we're facing around the world. It's the same in this country. No one can go against you for this. This is law. And I mean, for instance, the definition of constitutional law is the ultimate law. Okay, there is no law higher, no matter what people say. That's why all constables attest to common oath, as well as they have legislative abilities. But common law comes first, and under common law, it's the same with the Constitution. Nothing can be repugnant to common law or the Constitution. If it is repugnant to either of them two, then it is void by law. So most of the legislation is void. Most of the agreements for things like people coming into the country illegally, that's all void.
Well, that's why it was invoked, wasn't it, Nath? Because it was the Nice Treaty, which the barons put the document in for, because it was high treason, not just treason, high treason, because they saw it for what it was. It was a replacement document to replace us with them. But it give us no right to send anybody back or whatever. So that's why the barons went, no, we ain't having that. And then they slapped in the Article 61 because it was
the main reason.
You know,
one of the main reasons being it actually removes our sovereignty, which no one has the right to do. And this is why you used to hear the EU Parliament say you must give over sovereignty. This is why you hear the WF saying you must give over your sovereignty. It's actually saying we must take it. Countries must just give over their sovereignty to them. That's why you hear the WHO saying you need to give up your sovereignty. We need to, because with our sovereignty, they have no right. They have no legitimacy. They cannot do it. Our sovereignty is something that we should be protecting with our lives, and millions of people before us have done that. For instance, in 1215, and every single civil war that the UK has ever faced is about our rights, and they've lost their lives to make sure that we have the right to sit here today and have things like freedom of speech, to be able to travel down the road and stuff like that, unimpeded. Our rights have been taken away, they've been hidden from us, and we've been silly enough to sit on our backside. I mean, this is the problem. There's not a single country ever in history that's voted themselves out of tyranny, because what a lot of people don't realise is when you vote, you give your consent to what the government are doing. So when the government sign your sovereignty away and they give over complete control to the WF, understand they used the law, and so did you by voting on and signing and being part of the electoral roll. They used pen and paper to make that possible. You have to use pen and paper to undo that, and Article 61 is how you do that. It removes your consent. It means that they have no legitimate right to act on your behalf no more. Then the barons come in, they kick everybody out of Parliament, and then what we need a legitimate Parliament. And everybody keeps sitting there saying that they want, basically, we don't want Labour and that lot. We want independence. Well, the only way you're going to get any independence in Parliament is to back the barons, undergo diffidatio, remove everybody from Parliament, because it would be like a Cromwell thing. Everyone will basically, the barons and a few people will walk into Parliament, kick them all out. There will have to be general elections and that lot all across the country, so independence can then be voted for, and then a new legitimate party will be installed, and it will have to be under the Constitution, which protects our rights first and foremost.
And everybody who says, like, well, where are we going? This is the argument I always have with people now. Well, if we get rid of Parliament, who's going to run the country? Well, the barons will, because who do you think the barons are? The barons are peerages who've gone from the House of they've gone from the House of Commons up to the House of Lords, so they're all used. That was their job before. They're used to running the country, so exactly. That's why it's done that way.
Yeah. Most of these barons actually run massive businesses themselves, and it's not just that. When people say who's going to run the country, well, the same people that's been running the country for 100 years, you lot, us lot, the people that take the bins out, the people that do things like that, nothing will change. All that will happen is the bank account and the money will be given to the barons, not Parliament. So the barons then can still keep everyone being paid. All the services will still carry on. It's just it'll be without the corruption.
It's so simple to do.
I mean,
And
it is if like people don't realise this, okay? Every year, Parliament has like school kids do with some. I think it's 8 weeks they have off. I'm not sure, but every year Parliament takes a holiday. So you've got a month and a half to 2 months where nobody's doing anything in Parliament. So how do you think the country keeps running for that period of time? If these people in suits aren't sitting in them chairs discussing things, because it's not them that actually run the country. They govern the country. They don't run the country.
Yeah.
And this is why the Long March to Freedom is going to be because this is what we do. We become the Baron's army. We do it lawfully. We do it peacefully, and we back the Barons. Because
see what they did.
Cool.
Sorry enough. What they did, ladies and gentlemen, in the 50s, we used to be taught civics at school in the 50s, up until the 50s, sorry. And in that, it used to teach you how Parliament worked, what Parliament was there for. In other words, it used to teach you that Parliament was there to serve you. They were your civil servants. They worked for you. But since it's been stopped in the 50s, nobody's taught it anymore. And they've tricked people into thinking that now they are the masters and we are the slaves, because it used to be we lived in the private. In other words, everything we did was private. They had no right to look what we was doing, where it was going, or anything. But we had the right to do it to them because they was civil. They worked for us. What they did had to be out in the open because it could be detrimental to what happens to us. But now it's all changed. They've now turned into living in the private where we can't ask them any questions. And it's us who's been scrutinised every 5 minutes. They've just flipped the record over. That's all they've done. But we can flip it back. It's that simple.
I mean, exactly. As I say time and time again, the clues in the wording. The police, Parliament, MPs, councillors, all these people are called civil servants for a reason, because they're there to serve. They're not there to rule. We can't be ruled.
Yeah.
There is a legitimate place for government when there is no corruption, but we're not. Since 1215, we can't be ruled, especially by the WEF, and especially by the WHO, especially by the European Union, because we actually have had so many millions of people lose their lives to make sure that we are not. We can't even be ruled by the Vatican, although we are by proxy. But this is the thing. This is where people now actually really have to start standing up. It's like you can't say, okay, well, it's the Baron's job, because it doesn't work like that. We have to sort this problem. Okay. The reason why we are in the situation now is because we gave up all interest and just basically sat on our backsides with everything to do with our day-to-day lives. We just went, well, they can do it. They can get on with it. Okay. Because it was easier for us. And look where we are. Look at the pandemic. Look at like people not being able to see their loved ones, things like that. This is where it's got us. So this sitting on our backsides and not taking part and letting somebody else do it, that needs to stop right now, because it ain't going to fix the problem.
Yep. You've only got to look, ladies and gentlemen, like Napa says earlier, you'll never vote or appease, consent, comply your way out of tyranny. It only ever gets worse. The more you comply and consent and go along with it, the more tyranny you'll have. You've only got to look at the beginning. 2 weeks, we just want 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Look what's happened since then. Because people keep appeasing, complying and consenting. That's why it's the more you comply like now, the next big thing that comes along. As soon as you comply and consent, it's game over. That's going to be implemented because you're complying to it. You're consenting. It needs to stop. You know, sometimes people are their own worst enemy because they don't listen and they're just, there's nothing I can do. There's plenty you can do. Lose the fear, stand in your sovereignty, and, you know, be the living person you was here to be. That's simple.
Exactly. Imagine it like this. If a burglar come into your home and you just stood there and he went, right, I'm taking the telly now. You got a problem with that, and you just stood there and said nothing. He's going to take that telly. He then comes back in. He says, right, I'm taking the stereo now. You got a problem with that? You stand there and you say nothing. He's going to take it, isn't he? The only way you're ever going to stop a burglar if he comes into your house when you're there is to stop the burglar. You have to say no. You have to intervene. And it is now time the people intervene, because these people are corrupt. They are not going to stop because we ask nicely. Neither would a burglar, neither would a murderer. And this is what they are. They are murderers, and they are burglars. They have robbed us of our land. They have robbed us of our money. They have robbed us of our rights. Start looking at these people for what they are. They haven't got our best interests at heart.
And my worry with it all, ladies and gentlemen, is the video that's on Nathan's wall with the Union flag, which, by the way, isn't the people's flag. The Union flag, the Union Jack, is not the people's flag, ladies and gentlemen. It's the corporation flag. It's a flag of the corporation. That's why that's always flew and not the Cross of St. George, the English flag or whatever. It's a corporation. And what it is, they've unified the country with Wales, Scotland, Ireland and England. And what they've done, they've gone, right, that's your Union flag. They've been very clever how they've done it. But if you look at it, it's on in East Indian Tea Company logos, it's on them all. And there's a video on our wall all about it if you want to go and watch it. But it's basically not the flag of the people, it's a corporate flag. And when I saw them people yesterday go up there and remove that flag, that to me was saying the WHO and the WEF have already taken this country, because now the corporate flag, the government have been told that flag's got to come down. We're not having that flag there. It's Pride Week, and even your flag's got to come down. And to me, that's total control. It looks to me like it's a done deal if we don't do something about it. I don't know how you've seen it, Nath, but that's exactly how I've seen it. It was like a test. Well, there you go. For people who know the truth, you know what this means. We're taking over, and your government's no longer in control, because there's their corporate flag. It's gone.
Well, I'm not being funny. We've often had to change over flags and things like that in the past, and it's never happened. I would like every veteran that ever watches us to watch that video. And when you see, I mean, and you may not understand the flag, but I know you pledged your allegiance to it at one point, and I know it meant a lot. You would die for that flag. So go and watch that video and watch that flag hit the floor, because it's just dropped from a cherry picker and it hits the floor. It's the same in America. That flag technically should have never hit the floor, but it was thrown down dropped to the floor like it was a piece of trash. So that should really absolutely upset you. To expand on what Gary says and what some of the people say in chat, it is the Union flag, because under King Alfred, he united the tribes. So there was a union of people. Okay. There used to be a United Kingdoms, okay, and that was the kingdoms of Ireland, Wales, and England. Scotland joined later, but it was the United Kingdoms, okay. Once the British East India Tea Company, which is Britain, it's a corporation, it's the British East India Tea Company. Look into them; they're very nefarious and they've caused a lot of wars. I mean, the only corporation ever in the history of civilization to have its own standing army to actually bully other countries and kill people when they didn't do what they wanted to. Look into some of the history. But yeah, it's like the Union Jack is the symbol of a hijacked union. Clues in the verdict. It is actually a hijacked union, because there is a union of the people, and the British East India Tea Company hijacked that. That's why it went from the United Kingdoms to the United Kingdom, because they hijacked the Union. Me and Gary have done a bit of the history of the British East India Tea Company and how we became Britain. This is why I don't say UK no more, because it's no longer the United Kingdoms, it's the United Kingdom. We are not one kingdom. We are multiple kingdoms who are united. Like I said, whether you're Irish, Scottish, English, Welsh, that's different kingdoms.
But they're very subtle, you see, ladies and gentlemen. They dropped the S from United Kingdoms to the United Kingdom, and nobody bats an eyelid, because it sounds so similar and that. it's just like it's like a magician's sleight of hand, and nobody's even noticed it's gone on unless you're awake. And then it's that simple to do, but very effective because it means something completely different.
Well, this is the thing. This is part of what people don't understand as well, because it's like take like United Kingdoms, for instance. That was dominions united under the king, under King Alfred. So King Alfred united all the dominions, or the domains, which basically is the countries, the areas. And it's been subverted over quite a few years, to the point. This is the thing. At one point, this is why, technically speaking, the City of London is basically the hub of finance in the world. Washington DC, which is another state, because square mile, the City of London isn't actually part of the UK or Britain or anything like that. It's actually a separate state. So even though it's a part of this land, it's not actually of this land. It's a separate state. Washington DC is the same. The Vatican's the same. So you've got the Vatican, which is the head of the religious thing of the world. You've got Washington DC, which is the head of the military arm of the world, of these people. And you've got the City of London, which is the head of commerce. And this is what's happened. This is where we're seeing the WF and thing. This is oligarchs, and this is rich people that have just basically just taken over the world. We need to do.
And they're going to succeed if people don't wake up. Yeah. Well, look at the difference now. When it was kingdoms, ladies and gentlemen, the king couldn't go to war because he used to have to ask Wales. He used to have to ask Ireland. He used to have to ask Scotland if they'd join us. Or whichever one was at war. If it was Wales who was at war, they used to have to ask all the other kingdoms, will you come and join with us to fight this war? Now it's the kingdom, you're automatically thrown in the act whether you want to go or not. Because you're now a kingdom, not kingdoms.
Yeah. So instead of being the United Domains or the United Dominions, it's now the king's domain.
Yeah.
And the king,
it's flipped.
The king, the monarchy, has basically succeeded all its power, its dealings to Parliament. So Parliament now decides. This is why we're in the Ukraine war. This is why we're in Iraq. This is why war is done. So if you're against war, you should be on the long march to freedom, and you should be doing this, because this is the reason why there's so many wars, because we are not doing our duty. We are not stopping these people. When we stand up and say no, it's all over for them.
But every time there's a war, ladies and gentlemen, you have a look. Your children, your grandchildren, whatever, will be sent to fight. But it's funny how you never see any of the rich elite families on the front line, do you? You never even see them put a uniform on. They might give them a job, like a token job in an office or whatever, doing the paperwork. But even that's very, very rare. They don't get involved at all because they don't see it as they need to. They've got slaves for that, and that's us.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. This is the point. Kings, even queens, at one point used to have to lead their army into battle. I think Queen Victoria was I think the last one that really properly led into battle. I think anything, but I think Queen Victoria was the last that really did it properly as it should be. But now they don't, as Gary says, they just send everybody else in to die. I mean, this is the thing. If everybody in the world, the normal people in the world, stopped and said, no, you're not having war in our name. We're not going to put, even the people in uniform, because this is what people don't realise, okay? There is multiple oaths within our thing, right? The top one is the coronation oath. That's the one that the crown takes. The second highest oath in our land is Article 61 oath. Then you have the military oath, the police oath, and the stuff like that, and then you have the civil servants oath. But what people don't realise is that even if you are currently wearing a British Army military uniform, you are still a sovereign of these lands, and your constitutional duty overrides that of your military duty and your military oath. So if everybody in the army and all of us did actually stand up, and you'd have to actually stand up like we need to do now, like we're going to do, and say no more, then it stops. Then all these people that are all rich who want to go to other countries and get oil and kill millions of people so they can get richer, they've got a choice then. They could all band together, the 1% of them, and they can go and invade that country and try and take it themselves, or they're going to have to act properly. And this is how we do it.
Yeah.
We gave the world Magna Carta, and we gave the world. This is why America has the power to overthrow Congress and stuff like that. This is why they have the right to keep arms and that lot, so tyranny doesn't happen anymore. We have the same. It all comes from our constitution. We don't actually have the right to bear arms. Ours is different. By law, we have to be proficient. So technically speaking, and the law still is actually there today, every single man, woman and child should spend at least 1 hour a day practicing arms. So whether, and it's arms is your thing. So if you're rich enough to own a sword, you should be practicing with a sword at least an hour a day. If you can get a bow, you should be practicing with a bow a day. If it's a pitchfork, it's a pitchfork. But under our constitution, by law, all of us have to be able to use a weapon. So if any time we need to protect the realm, we can. That is by law.
Yeah.
So we do have that, and it's still there.
If the people cottoned on to war and the soldiers realised that all they are private security, basically, for the rich elites, that's what they're doing. The thugs, basically, in a uniform. But it's been legalised. That's all that is. They're no different to the drug cartels. When they went into Iraq to strip all Iraq's assets, it was done legal. The difference is, when the drug cartels do it, it's classed as illegal. It's classed as, it's wrong. But when they do it as the governments get together and do it, and it's classed as legal, but it's the same thing. You've got to understand this. And then if Richard Sunak stood up in Parliament tomorrow and says, unfortunately, things are getting worse, we've got to change, and we've got to we're going into war with Ukraine. If somebody walked on that floor with 650 uniforms and says, well, there you go, put them on the table, what's them? Well, them are your uniforms, because you've got to set an example. You've got to go first. Do you think that war would carry on? I don't think it would.
It wouldn't.
I don't think they'd want it anymore.
They wouldn't. The only reason why war happens is because rich people get to sit back and watch poor people die. That is the fact of the matter. And the only people that ever benefit from war are rich people, whether that be because of making weapons, selling weapons, or from gaining the riches of their plunder. It's only rich people that have
exactly. Anybody sitting here watching this, you've all lost family in the wars, granddads, grandmothers, whatever, great granddads in wars, right? Where's your booty from them wars? Are you sitting in big posh houses and that? No, you're not. But all these rich elites are, because they make billions from the armament sales and everything. They're sitting pretty. They love a war. They nothing more than a good war, because it boosts their bank account like you wouldn't believe. All you get, if you're lucky, is your family back, and be able to. But then most of the time, them are traumatized through what they've seen and had to do. And on the worst side of the scenario, you're grieving because you wave goodbye to that person. You're never going to see him again because they've been brutally murdered or whatever in a war. They shouldn't have been fighting because it was a bankers' war. All wars are bankers' wars, ladies and gentlemen. Just remember that. Nothing to do with, oh, we've got to go and make this. You don't make a country secure and safe by going and blowing it to bits, do you? Come on, let's be honest.
And democracy doesn't happen through the end of a gun. It doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't. But that Ukraine proves that. They used their democratic vote. The government didn't like it, so then the government decided to start killing them. That's a simple fact of Ukraine. The war started in 2014, and it was the Azov battalions, which are actually Nazi battalions. I've been banned for saying that, but it's true. It's actually the Ukraine government actually started attacking their own people. Russia joined in what, 2019, 2020.
But they're not. Yeah, but there again, Nathan, if you look into that, they're not Nazis as we class Nazis. They're Ashkenazis. And that, again, and that's been the wear that for the simple reason, because people are waking up to the truth of World War II. And when people are waking up to the truth of World War II, you've got to do something, pull something out the bag to make people want to hate them again. So what better than say, we're all wearing them same armbands and then now they're blowing shit to bits in Ukraine. No, they're not. It's nothing to do with National Socialists, because that's who the Nazis was. And when you've got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, the Nazis never called themselves Nazis. That was a Jew who nicknamed them Nazis. But trust me, go and do your research on World War II, and you'll have a different opinion on it all. But you know, people won't. They'll just say, "Oh, you're just another Nazi." No, I'm not. I like the truth. Whatever the truth is, I'll put it out. You prove it wrong, and I'll put it out. But I'll put out the truth, and that's it. It's all I'm about.
I mean, take our rights, for instance, okay? There's a little fact that most people don't understand, okay, about sentient beings, right? Sovereign, okay? The word sovereign goes back at least 6,000 years, 6,000 BC that I know of. It was written in stone in Sumeria. It was first mentioned that I know of, written in stone. It fought between 4,500 and 6,000 BC. Any sentient being that is born, okay, because they say it's a birthright, but the birthright is actually being absolutely subverted. But every sovereign man, woman on the face of this planet, and it used to happen in this country. When you was born, you'd be given a plot of land, a small plot of land, and you'd be able to go to the woods and that lot and get materials to build your own house. And you'd have enough land so that you could grow your own food and you could keep your family alive and yourself alive. You'd have to work. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're still slaves because you had to work for your landowner. But we was actually used to be given, because we had to by law, be given a bit of land, because no government, the WF, none of these actually own any of the land. They've taken it from us because they've hoodwinked us. But I'll give you this: if every sovereign man and woman in the world was actually, if the world was divided up equally, every man and woman, and I mean every single person, and that's including children, I think, on the face of this planet, would have roughly 4 American football pitches. That size, yes, it'd be the size of 4 American football pitches. That land would be yours.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back in this country, ladies and gentlemen, just to the 1930s and just after the war, it was still going in the 60s, because I remember next door having. I mean, he was in the place, the guy next door, but he had a path running down the middle of his garden, and the one side was turfed, and the other side, he was growing potatoes, carrots, cabbage. Everybody had like a mini allotment for the Sunday dinner and whatever, for the vegetables on the left hand side, and then whatever they did on the right hand side. But everybody, and people had chickens. Most people had chickens and a pig in the garden or whatever. My granddad used to have them when I was younger, and that's how it used to be. But then what happened? The government come along and said, "Oh, we can make money off this, so we'll stop all that. We'll make it so you go." You know, people will buy from the supermarket, and they're tempted you away from growing. You don't want to grow your own food. It's easier to buy it. And when it first come out, they made it cheap as chips. But then, as soon as they got the monopoly and people stopped buying it again, and got used to buying it from the supermarkets, of course, the prices went up. They do it all the time. And now, obviously, you have them coming over here every day, the drones, every day. Drones, helicopters, looking at all the gardens, see who's growing produce of their own. Nowadays, they don't want you to grow anything yourself.
They're actually trying, in a lot of countries, even like America, they're actually making it illegal. And this is what people got to understand. There is a difference between illegal and lawful. Most of the legal side of stuff is basically you have unalienable rights. So you have the right to basically, it's different on the mainland of Europe, but within our kingdoms, under our laws, we can do whatever we like as long as it causes no harm or any loss to another sovereign. Okay, so you mean, but unfortunately, it's being made illegal now for us to grow our own food, because we're not going to get too much into it because the feed will be taken down. But they want certain things in our food. They're already putting certain things in our food to do certain things. and to control us in certain ways. They will use. Do plan to use food. Trust me. We've been doing this a lot of time. This is why we talk about Agenda 21. We talk about lockstep. We talk about the WEF. We talk about many things because we're not making these things up. They're not conspiracy theories. All we're doing is reading from their own documents. So when they say you will own nothing and be happy, they mean it, because they mean to assume control of the whole world. That means food production and lot. And if they have to destroy all food production, so we are starving, the only option will be then is to go, yes, we need your help. Yes, we'll do anything. And that's what they're going to do. That they've done it in other wars. They've done it in other countries. Look at what's happening in Venezuela. Look what happened in Russia. I mean, there's famine. With wars comes famine, and this is why the Ukraine war is so prominent right now, because Ukraine is one of the biggest exporters of things like wheat and other stuff. So is actually the Netherlands, and look what's happened to the Netherlands farmers. The government's actually now just taking their land from them because they want to control food. Because if they control when or if you can eat, you will do anything, because if you are hungry enough, you'll give over any rights. You'll do exactly what you're told to do so you can get that food. Look at what they're doing.
Don't
forget, have to stand up to this. Yeah.
And it's not going to be what you're used to be eating in the gardens. It's all going to be genetically modified. It's going to be plastic. I mean, have you seen that video on YouTube where they get that lettuce? It's like, it drops this stuff. It looks like plastic into a hot saucepan, and then it all opens up like a flower, and they lets it cool down, and it's all gone crispy like a lettuce, but it's plastic. You don't realise what you're eating.
Well, they had a massive scandal in China because there was basically the Chinese government was actually giving out plastic rice. You know what I mean? They actually changed a lot of the rice to actually do plastic rice. They was destroyed a lot of the paddy fields. They've been doing this for a long time, but I want to keep really concentrating on what we're going to do, because it's like we put the Long March for Freedom out in December, and the reason why we did that is because this is not a comfy event. There is no staging areas set up where it's all thingy. This is going to be right back to basics. This is why we put it out. We've been putting this out since Christmas, because you're going to need you're going to need camping gear. So you're going to need a sleeping bag, a tent. You're going to need cooking utensils, like a way of doing it, because you won't be able to light a fire on the floor because it's too dangerous. You're going to need like a gas bottle or something like that. You're going to need a way of feeding yourself, because this is not a one-day march. This is going to be more than a few days. I'm telling you now. This is where we really dig our heels in and we actually stand up and say no. So it's time to do this. This is why we put it out, because we understand that there's a cost of living crisis. We understand that not everyone's got camping equipment, so we've tried giving you enough warning so you've got camping equipment, because like I said, this is going to be over a number of days. We're going to be walking. Okay, so that's why it's called the Long March for Freedom. Just like they did in the Second World War, they walked for days to get their freedom, to get to freedom, to get to a safe place. And this is what we're doing, but we're going to do it in a style of that, but also it's going to be in a style of Magna Carta, Article 61. And the way they did back then. It's like I said, this is a family-friendly event, things like that. But this is not a frill thing. This is not going to be luxurious campsites and stuff like that, I can assure you. So this is about being serious, because we will not be allowed to do that.
It's a bonding exercise, and that's why we've said, if you're against climate change, child grooming, 5G, whatever you're against, come on the march, because when we go to camp, when everything's set up and that, we'll have talks, and we want people who say, right, my name's Jim Smith, example, and I'm here because I'm against climate change, and then explain all about climate change, because everybody needs to know. If you've done the research on that, people who are there will be interested. Then the next day be somebody else talking about child grooming, or somebody else, talking about something else that I'm keen on. And by the end of it, we're hoping that everybody's going to know all about everybody else's interlinked with everybody else. Everybody else will know what everybody's cause is, and then hopefully you'll all be bonded, and you'll realise just how important every cause is. Sorry. But Article 61 will get rid of every single one of them. If it's a migrant crisis, it'll get rid of it.
Exactly,
Simple.
because and this is why it's being done in the way it is, and we can't release too much information because anybody who's been in the movement long enough will understand that. That's why. Be on the march and you'll find out. As Gary says, we will be having speeches and things like that, but that is more to give information. It's not going to be like most of these other events where you travel to London, you hear someone talk, and then you go home and nothing's done about it. This is just like Gary says, it's to learn. And the reason why we're doing this is so eventually, because this march isn't about any political view. So leave your political view at home.
No.
We don't care if you're left, right. I don't care if you're because that doesn't come into this. Okay. But by the end, when we get to the end of where we need to be, everybody should have the understanding that everybody, whether you're fighting for one cause or another, everybody is fighting against the same thing, because the root cause of all these problems are going to be the same people when we all boil it down to its basic bare bones. And that's how we unite. We don't start talking about our differences. We talk about what we have in common, and what we have in common is we all need to actually take these people to account. We all have got stuff going on. We all are affected by things that are done by these people that are wrong, and that's what we unite on. This is not about as I said, political views or anything like that. This is not about kicking off. Like I said, so I want to say this to now because it needs to be said, because there always is a contingent from the very extreme left who want to turn up to an event and try and be violent to put it into disrepute or thingy. This event is not about violence. If you turn up and you start shouting at the police or you start committing violence, understand we will hand you over to the police and we will want you prosecuted, because if you're there and you cause trouble, you are not there for a solution. You are not there for the people. You are not there to protect our children's future. You are there to destroy it. To understand that before you come on this march or you come anywhere near this march, unless you are there to be equal to every single person on that march, unless you are there to actually gain a solution to stop these crimes happening, then don't turn up, because you will not be welcome. And even though it's welcome to everybody, you won't be.
Well, we don't do politics, as you know, Nath, but even if you are into politics, again, you should be on this march, because whether you're left or right, your freedom of choice and to vote is going to be taken away very soon, because they are going to be doing away with countries' parliaments. It's all going to be run probably from Brussels, and Parliament will just be another big council building where people will work for this New World Order government from there, but there'll be no more voting. You won't be able to vote people in or out. It'll be like the EU. There'll be no more voting people in or out. So even if you believe in democracy and believe in having the right to vote, that's going to be taken away from you very soon.
Well,
Trust me, it ain't going to happen anymore.
Well, next year they sign the pandemic treaty, and once the pandemic treaty is signed, there will be no voting there. Literally, it's already said that. We've already seen sort of this with Ireland. Have a look what's happening in Ireland, because they basically was told that no, we're not having any voting at the moment, if I remember correctly. But there will be no more voting. But as Gary says, if you are politically inclined now, and we do not, and this march, you've got to. This is where we're going to learn to actually be accountable for ourselves and respect each other. So I would say this: if you are one of these people who want to run as an independent, this is your time to show the people that you'll roll your sleeves up and you will work with the people and you will do right by them. This is a chance for you to come on a march and speak to your constituents and actually find out the problems, so when you are there, you know what to sort out. This is going to be the biggest opportunity for every single man, woman and child possible. This is why it's family friendly. Like I said, it's not going to be great. So it's one of them. It's not a case of we haven't got loads of hotels and things that lined up. This is going to be bare bones, because it has to be done like this. There is no other way. But I can assure you, the best thing for our children at the moment is to teach them what it means to fight for freedom, for our rights, and to teach them that to get your rights is never a comfortable thing. And that's why we're doing it in the manner we're doing it, because this is what's going to build attrition. And now we had Simon Bean on a little while ago, and we was talking about the Long March to Freedom with him, and he said the same thing. No, exactly it. If you've ever been in the military or know anything about the military, the reason why they march and they do all the thing is because they bond through attrition. You go through, because it's not going to be easy. You're going to go through some hard times. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be ideal. Like I said, you're not going to be staying in the Ritz. You're going to be staying in your tent with a sleeping bag. It's going to have hopefully very nice weather, because it's going to be in August. That's all we're going to say for now. It's in August. So you haven't got long to get all your stuff. But this is where we truly actually stand up. No more events, okay? No more protests, no more marches where people turn up, they listen to a bunch of people speaking, and then you go home, okay? These people turn up, they do a speech, but there's never any solutions. They sit there and keep telling you about the problems. How long are we going to sit here and talk about the problems? Well, dogs will be fine on this, Jenny. I can assure you, as long as you keep them on a leash all the time and you don't let them run free of thing, you'll be fine. But as I said, people are going to have to be responsible on this. Like I said, if you can't have any fires on the ground, so any frame of thing has to be off the floor, because you just can't do that. You can bring your dog, but understand that's your responsibility. They have to stay on a leash at all times, because it will not be the situation where you can let them off. I can assure you, you have to keep feeding, but they are welcome. Kids are welcome. Like I said, this is where all the people actually come together and unite. And we're going to unite on the fact of we actually need to do so. This ain't about politics.
And we've had people get in touch with us who are disabled and that, who feel like, well, I can do things, but I can't last that long or whatever. You'll be involved as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of people say that I can't physically walk very far. You are going to be included in this. We've got things that you will be able to do to help and aid and actually back us as disabled or things like that. There will be things you can do. Okay, so please don't think that this is just about the people on the march. There will be more things that happen with the people on the march, because the people that actually are there are going to deserve to be included in a thing we're going to do. Okay, but this is going to be put out wider. Don't, just because you're disabled and can't be there, don't think it's going to be thing. But there is going to be things on the march that other people won't do. But if you're disabled and stuff like that, you are going to be 100% included. Okay, you are just as important as the people on this march, and you will do just as much good for this march as the people on this march. I can assure you. Okay, same again. I would advise you, just in case, get some camping equipment. And I would say this to people who are disabled, things like that: get a flag, get a banner, but write it on a sheet. Okay, so if you don't want war, if you don't want child grooming, if you don't want all this, get a bed sheet, write on it, because you may need it. That's all I'm going to say right now. But every single one of you are going to be included in this, because this affects every single one of us. So every single one of us will have a part to play in this. I can assure you.
Exactly.
Like I said, this isn't a one-day march. This isn't a like turn up, go home, take a few photos, have a few drinks type thing. This is where we stand up and say no. I mean,
it's going to affect
because I do have to say this. I said, because I've been contacted a lot about this. Yes, we are the first ones that put out the Long March for Freedom, and yes, there's been multiple events since that are using similar wording to the Long March to Freedom 2. I can assure you, unless it is the Long March to Freedom 2, and I'm going to put the logo up in a minute, unless it says the Long March to Freedom 2, no, we have nothing to do with it. No, it's not part of our march. We would like these people to join in with the true march, but they may not. If you want to contact the people doing these events and ask them to join in as well, we'd be grateful for that. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like they are. But we're not going to argue over it. It's one of them. I would say it's down to them. They have to look in the mirror really and sort of say which side are they on.
Well, it's going to affect everybody, no matter what walk of life you're from, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you're working class, middle class, or in a lot of cases upper class, because what people don't understand is that this is a billionaires club, not a millionaires club. They ain't bothered if you got 50 million in the bank. To them, they've got hundreds of billions, 200 billion Bill Gates. So your 50 million, even if you add it, is nothing to him. This is going to affect, but he'll have it to boost his bank account, but he ain't going to listen to you. Yeah, you got 50 million, but he's got 200 billion. So, you know, he ain't going to listen to you. They're not going to listen to you, these people. The multi-billionaires, not millionaires. So it doesn't matter whether you're classed as working class, middle class, or even upper class in this country, where you've got a few million in the bank. It's going to affect you. Because, like I said, you ain't got nowhere near enough to be in that club. You're just going to be thrown in these 15-minute cities in that with everybody else going to rob your bank account the same as everybody else. So just bear that in mind when you watch it.
For some of the questions in the chat, we have been told by numerous veterans that yes, they will be attending. We have also been told by some of the football lads that they will be attending. Whether they do or not, the same as the other groups that have said that they'll be attending. We're not going to put any groups' names out. They're welcome to come on and pledge their allegiance for the march and talk about unity with us and show allegiance with us. This is what we want. We want leaders of groups to start coming on and show that we can put a united front. But at the moment, we're not going to give any names of groups we're talking to, or any names of groups that have said they're going to be on this march, or any leaders or anything like that, because it's just not fair. Like I said, that's the easiest way for the government to pick us off. Myself and Gary already basically kind of sticking our necks out there, even saying that we're helping to organise this, and even putting out that it's thingy. So understand this. It's like this.
But that's why it's got to be peaceful and lawful.
Yeah, and this isn't a case.
We only do lawful and peaceful, ladies and gentlemen. We will not be, because violence don't solve anything unless, you know, later on down the line, what we've said earlier, when you're in 61, if the tyranny happens and they don't listen. But up until that point, and you've got to follow all due process to the point with the barons, it has to remain lawful and peaceful. Otherwise, you know, you're as bad as they are.
Yeah, exactly. This march is going to be, but it's going to be absolutely true to law. Okay, not saying legislation, not saying that, because they're not being funny. They're just rules of things. And I'll say this: it states quite clearly in Houses Laws of England, which our courts have to go by. It's the encyclopedia of the laws of our country. It states in Houses, acts and statutes can only be given the force of law by the consent of the governed. So acts and statutes are not laws. Only when you consent to be governed by these people in Parliament can they make that act or statute have the force of law, i.e. can police be weaponised against you for that act and statute if you consent to be governed. Once you undergo diffidatio and undergo 61, you are no longer governed. Parliament has no say over you, so their acts and statutes are void. They have no relation on you. I will say this: there's some acts and statutes that are not repugnant to common law and the Constitution, so they may be viable. I.e., that's why we are not going to have fires on the ground and stuff like that. Because, so like when you stop for lunch, don't start trying to light a bonfire to cook your lunch, because it's not going to be allowed. Because that is it's harm, it's loss, because you destroy the land. Okay, so we're not going to do things like that. We're going to be 100% abiding by the law. That's why, again, we're not going to be heckling the police. We're not going to be doing anything untoward. I mean,
well, we're hoping to educate the police on the way. That's what we're hoping to do.
Well, actually, it'd be nice if the police actually did their duty and they actually made sure that we are made safe on this march, and they uphold their end of the bargain, and they uphold common law. And they actually protect us, as it should say.
Because, like you've hit the nail on the head, Nathan, the Article 61 is above the oath they take. So hopefully we could talk a few police around on the march and say, look, educate them, and hopefully they will get it. And I can't see many of them doing it, but hopefully you get one or two that will say, well, yeah, you know, you're right, and I've got kids. Because what these police don't realise is they've got kids as well, and they're enforcing the exact rules that their future generations are going to live under. I think they've lost the plot myself, because nobody in the right mind's going to police that. Well, I wouldn't. If I was in the police now, I'd be gone. I'd say, too much for me. I ain't doing this. I'm with the people. And that's the end of it.
The people,
job or no job, because at the end of the day, in another 5 years, you ain't going to have a job anyway, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. This is the thing. The police need to understand this, and this is a fact of law, and this is just a fact. When the people stand up and they uphold their rights, any constable that interferes with that is a criminal. You are a criminal. You are committing treason, and you are committing the most heinous crime against the people you're meant to be there to serve. You possibly can. To understand that before you start interfering, and it's like Gary says, this is like most marches like this is not going to be a weekend thing as well. So if you have a job, or we won't have kids at school, things like that, but some people say, but I have a job. Well, understand this: in about a year to 2 years time, you won't have that job, because the WEF, and they've said this since 2000. Have a look at the thing on my wall. Since 2015, the WEF have been stating that the fourth industrial revolution will mean mass job losses. So unless you are in a job, and please believe me, the building industry can be automated. It already is starting to be automated. Unless you are in a job that can only be done by a man or a woman, understand you're going to lose your job. Their whole plan is to basically automatize everything. So we're always seeing it with supermarkets. You won't have a job if you work in a supermarket, so you're going to lose your job anyway. So you either fight to stop them and keep you, and so you have a job in the future, or you keep your paycheck going for the next year or so, and then you lose everything anyway. I say we stand now and we fight, and we take it to them now, and we say no. And this is what this march is about.
And people say, oh, so where are they going to fund all this from? Because obviously, if nobody's going to be working, nobody's got a job or anything anymore, and it's all going to be funded. It's going to be funded out your trust, ladies and gentlemen. When you, like Nathan said on the live the other day, when you go and you lose your job and you go down the benefits office, that's what it is. Your benefits come out your trust.
Yeah,
because you're the beneficiary. It's a benefit. Yeah.
Of that trust.
Yeah, and that's what they're going to do. So the more people they can kill off, the more money in the trusts of these people they've killed off, they've got to fund what they want to do. It's not going to come out of their banks. Trust me. It's going to come from the people.
That's how the universal basic income is going to be paid. It's going to be paid off the interest of your trust, like benefits are now. The only thing that's not a benefit is things like war pensions and a pension. So a pension is not a benefit. You basically gave the government money to hold for you, so when you needed it, it's paid back. It's not a benefit. Yeah. Stop calling it a benefit, because it's not. You are owed this money. You've done this money. You paid tax. You paid life insurance. You paid your national thing. You paid it all, and it's time to pay it back. So please stop saying that a pension is a benefit, because it's not. You actually paid that forward. The same as the NHS. We actually pay for the NHS in advance.
And all these migrants that they're paying, again, that's coming out your trust. I'm telling you. If you think the government's paying for that, it's either coming out your trust, or it's being printed out of thin air, and it's going on the debt.
Yeah, the national debt. Because it's
going on the national debt. One of them two things is happening. Either way, you can bang out of order. But if it's going on the national debt again, the amount of them they're bringing in, and they're going to start giving them £1,600 a month soon, ladies and gentlemen. You tell me anybody on benefits, just normal benefits, any Indigenous person that's worked all their life and probably lost a job for no reason, like what's happening now, who's in the 40s but have paid 20 odd years of tax and insurance and everything else. You tell me anyone who's going to get £1,600. You're lucky to get £85 a week. That's only £300 a month, not £1,600. Yet these are coming from nowhere, being put in big posh hotels, and £1,600 a month to live off. If you
and before,
no, but if you carry on letting that happen, then more fool you, because you're entitled to that money a lot more than they am. But
understand this. Before, I know, but before people jump on it and say, but you do get more than £300 a month because you get your housing benefit and all stuff like that. I can assure you, yeah, that may be true for people on benefits, but anybody that's coming to this country illegally, they get everything paid for them. So that's their accommodation, everything like that. That £1,600 that Gary's talking about is just in their pocket.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm on about. I know you get
tax. They don't pay thingy. 2 seconds. They don't pay council tax. Don't pay anything. That's just in their pocket. Coincidentally, same amount of money that the universal basic income is going to be.
Yeah.
That's
all I'm trying to say to you.
Exactly. When the WF say you own nothing and you'll be happy, don't think you're going to own your home. Don't think you're going to own your car. And don't think you're going to own anything that's going to be anything of worth. I can assure you, you'll be given. So basically, like me and Gary spoke about this before. If you actually bother to read some of their plan pretty much is that everything in your home is going to be given to you by the government. Okay, your fridge, everything. And if it doesn't last, if you break it, you're then breaking government property. So then you're liable for that. It's not going to be like it is when they say fourth industrial revolution and completely change the world. They are going to completely change the world. This is their own document. Start reading them.
And don't forget, when you say, I don't want that fridge, because that fridge has got the new spyware on, it's going to tell you how much beef I've got in there, etc., etc. I don't want it. It's going to listen on me. I don't want it. The government's going to say, well, tough. That's a fridge you're having, whether you want it or not. Or don't have one.
Yeah,
that'll be you'll be forced into all of this. But what I was trying to say was, yes, we know you get your house in that paper. That's the point I was making now. At the end of it all, you end up with £85 to spend for yourself, even if you get the benefit where they pay your council tax and your rent. These are going to get £1,600 because their hotels and all that are already paid for. It's a big difference between 300 and 1,600.
Why do you think they've allowed loads? I mean, there is massive amounts of housing estates that are just being left empty, and the reason for that is because they're going to level them, build those high-rise blocks of flats. We're going to have units that we live in, okay, and that we won't have to pay rent and everything like that. So, but we won't have anything. We won't own nothing. Some people say that's great. It won't be when it happens. I can assure you. Go and ask China if they think it's great, because I assure you they don't. And that's what
because
we're looking at.
Everything will be metered up. Sorry, no.
I said, no, they're already doing it. Your car will have to be that they'll set a legislation or regulation that they're already doing it now. That your car doesn't look at ULEZ. That's what you're looking at. It's a case of right. Well, the lovely car that you work for, your thing that is no longer viable. So we're just going to take that because it's now illegal to own. So if you want to drive, you have to drive this specific car because we deem this is a correct car to drive. That's what you're looking at. It's already happening. Look at you, Les. Look at what's thing. This is why this march happened. This is why this march includes every single cause. I don't care if it's 15-minute cities, child grooming, everything. It includes everything, because if you look at all these problems and you take your time instead of fighting each other for like, I don't know, a bit of airtime, what we do is we all get together and go, do you know what? Every time we look at this, and if you look at the source and where these problems come from, it's the same people for each cause. So if you're against child grooming, it's going to be the same people who sets out rules and allows people to actually groom children who doesn't do enough to stop it. If you're against wars, I can assure you it's going to be the same people who actually who start these wars. If you're against things like 15-minute cities, I can assure you it's going to be the same people as the other groups thing that actually are doing the 15-minute cities. Once we understand that and we unite on what we actually are, not our differences, unite on what we all have in common. And what we all have in common is we are all fighting the same enemy. That's what we unite on.
I'm an advocate for cash.
Yep.
As you know,
exactly.
now, I'm an advocate for
Yep.
cash.
Me too.
Because,
Me too.
Because I'm going to explain it to the people now. Is that example, ladies and gentlemen? You're in a 15-minute city, and if you don't let them get rid of cash, great, fantastic. But the minute you let them get rid of cash, and it's initially card only, but you've let them get rid of your cash, you go for a walk and you suddenly go, oh shit, I've strayed outside my 15-minute city, but I need a drink. You get to the cash points, you put your card in. Your card's not going to work because you're outside your 15-minute zone. Now, if you hadn't let them get rid of cash, and cash was still legal tender, you could have gone and got that drink, couldn't you? Because you'd have carried a bit of cash for you.
Yep, I was actually having
The
a
worst thing
conversation.
you'll ever do is let them get rid of cash. Trust me, you will regret that for the rest of your life. I know a lot of people go, well, I don't use it, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter whether you use it or not. A lot of people still do as well.
And you're going to find out how important it is very soon. I was actually having a conversation with someone about this the other day, and I was trying to explain it, and I come up with an analogy and a kind of a scenario, and it did actually make this person who is like so for the digital currencies and that lot, that it's actually made them think to the point where they are now actually joining keep cash like groups. Imagine this, okay? Imagine you live in Birmingham. And you've moved there because you had a job and that lot, and we all now live in 15-minute cities, okay? And imagine that your elderly parents live in Cornwall. You'll see them parents probably once a year, because like Gary says, once you stray outside that 15-minute city, your card won't work. So you won't be able to go from train station to train station and buy tickets to get the different routes and that lot to get there. You will do. If you buy your tickets when you're in your 15 seats, you can travel a thing. But what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, you're only allowed to travel 100, I don't know, say 100 miles per year. So if your parents live 163 miles away from you, you're not going to see your parents because you will not have the travel allowance to be able to go and see them parents or loved ones or anything like that. So I understand this. Imagine that. We're all and they're locked down. We're all locked down. All cameras. Your card doesn't work. You try and do an online purchase, but because you've only got 53 hours left on your travel, you can't go and see your sick auntie who lives, say, 70 miles away because you've only got 53 travel hours. Because your carbon footprint. This is what we're looking at. Have a look at their documents. This is what they're actually saying. So we need to stand.
But in the meantime, it won't affect them. In the meantime, it won't apply to them. This is what we're on about, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to wake up to what's going on. For fuck's sake.
Yeah. You don't wait until what you mean. When you wait until trouble comes to your door, you're already in trouble. I can assure you. Best thing to do is make sure it doesn't come to your door. I can assure you that. Okay. And this is why no more standing watching speeches. Okay. Unless you are standing there watching someone who's giving you a solution of how we stop this, you should not be standing there listening to them. Okay. No more speeches. No more taking money. No more costing the people money to listen to someone tell you the same thing over and over and over and over again. No more keep traveling to London or wherever it is that you're having a demo. And I'm not putting in any demos there. I'm saying we've done it now. It's now time to actually act on the solutions, okay? Because all you're doing is you're giving more and more of these billionaires money by traveling places and buying certain things because you got to buy your lunch when you're going on these marches and stuff like that, buy your beer. So what you're doing is you're getting these billionaires richer and richer for you to go and stand, listen to someone talk for a couple of hours and then go back home, okay? The time for speeches and the time for things like that is now over. Protesting does not work. Okay, just standing at some place or turn up to somewhere and saying we're not happy, and these are the problems that we have in our society. We all know the problems in our society. The time for that is over. Okay, that's why the Long March for Freedom isn't a turn up go home march, and it is not about turn up and listening to speeches. It isn't. It's about solutions, and it's about bringing about solutions to these problems. There's no other march doing this. There is no other march. There is no other protest doing this. So I'm hoping every single person that's available or can is going to make the sacrifice to be on this march. Because I'm telling you now, even the disabled, even everybody else is going to be on this march. This is why. Another reason why I'm saying on this is live now. I'm not going to keep answering people now. If it isn't the Long March to Freedom 2, it is not our march. It is nothing to do with our march. We have nothing to do with it. It is not part of what we're doing. They haven't spoke to us. They haven't agreed with us. They haven't united with us. Most of these people just want you to turn up and listen to speeches again, not putting people down for what they're doing. But as I'm saying, we've had at least 3 years that most people who've got into the movement since COVID, 3 years of people doing speeches. I think that's long enough to hear people talk about the problem. For people like me and Gary, it's been more like 10 to 15 years we've been doing this and hearing speeches. So now it's time to actually do something. Now it's actually time to stand up and bring about solutions. Let's stop these atrocities, because they're certainly not going to do it, because they're the ones who are actually making it so they are possible. They're the ones turning a blind eye to it, and we are by proxy. So it's now time to stand up and make a stand. Let's do this.
It's never going to stop. Tyranny and oppression never goes away by itself. Never has done, never will do. It always took the will of the people to do it. It always has done, and it always will do. If you haven't got the will and the fight, well, I'm sorry, you're going to drag everybody else down with you, but you will enslave this country, and you will enslave your children and future generations. And I hope you can live with yourselves if that's what happens.
If you think not being able to see your grandparents or the people that were dying during COVID, if you think everything that happened during COVID, that was a test run to see how pliable we are. If you think that it's not going to be as bad as that, it's going to be worse. Our children, our grandchildren are going to face worse than that if we stand by and do nothing. I can assure you that. Okay, I can assure you that, because that is what they're planning.
It starts off 15-minute cities. Once they've got everybody in the 15-minute cities, then it's easier, because now instead of having 66 million, you've got 66 million, but they're all in cities with about 100,000 in or whatever. Easier to bring the army in to quell any rebellion or whatever then. So once that happens, you're finished. 100% finished. Because you will be born, people will be born, they'll grow up, they'll socialise, they'll get married, they'll work, and they'll die all within that 15-minute city. You won't see nothing of the world. This world's beautiful, ladies and gentlemen, but that's going to only be for rich elites. You ain't going to go in and be able to see the wonders of the world. They're saying you can travel you can only have an holiday every 3 years. That'll be at the beginning. But then, once they've stolen all your money out of the bank and you're living on benefits, you ain't going to have no money. And plus the fact, they'll just say no. Remember Little Britain? Computer says no. It's all subliminal messaging.
Yeah. Well, I can assure you now that it's actually in their own documents that by the year 2030 there will be no commercial airlines leaving Britain. So that means that you won't be going to Ibiza, you won't be going to Malaga, you won't be doing your little holidays. There will be no ferries leaving for stuff like that. It'll only be commerce. It'll only be food and goods that are coming back as forwards, and that's in their own paperwork. That's 2030. So what Gary's saying is a lot closer than people actually realise. We need to stop this now.
Yeah.
Like then, obviously, me and Gary and the CNW team, we can't actually contact all groups personally and stuff like that. We've had many people sort of say that they're going to contact groups and stuff like that, and we have put out blanket things. So if you're part of a group, get in that group, get the people, get the leaders of that group or the admin of that group, get them to contact us. This is what we do. We all unite. So all the groups are going to come together. We're going to unite. We're going to do this march. If you've got something you think you can help this march with, or that you can put forward, do it, because we ain't asking for money. This is going to be the goodwill of the people. So, for instance, At the moment, we're still kind of looking at, we need a couple of people who have got vans that are able to sort of like move some bits about on this march. So if you've got a van and you can pay your pay for the petrol, and you can do that for us, then please come forward and volunteer. This is about volunteering things, okay? If you've got a car, you can do the same thing. You can volunteer to do things, okay? Everybody can help this in certain ways. As this moves on, we'll be releasing more, and we're doing it. As I said, when we say even you disabled, even you people who thought that you're not part of something, you are part of something, okay? You are part of it, and you mean just as much as the rest of us. So understand us, you will all play your part.
Yeah. We've got a unique opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, because you don't realise how lucky you are living in this country, because our constitution is unique. Article 61 is unique. So please, let's use it, because no other country's got what we've got. They haven't got that power that we've got. It's not written in their constitution that they can lawfully rise up. Even America hasn't got that. They've got the Second Amendment, but there's nothing written in there to say, yeah, it's there for tyranny and corruption. But Article 61 actually tells you when tyranny and corruption is abound, you, like Nathan says, it's your lawful and moral duty. You're compelled to go into 61 to remove it. There's no other constitution anywhere in the world got that. Nowhere. So we've got the tools. It's whether we want to use it or not.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I said, it's there in law. We actually have this in law, and it is by law you have to do this. It's not a case of, well, do I want to? Don't know. It's not like I said. If someone told you have to kill this person in the street, you go no, because the law tells them I'm not allowed to. I mean, if the law says, I mean, most people seem to think it's like, well, the law says I have to pay my tax. Well, if the law says you have to pay your tax, the law is now telling you, because you're under tyranny and the people that you're meant to pay this tax to aren't using it correctly. If the law is now telling you not to pay that tax, then you have to do this while you're not doing it. That's what you need to be asking yourself.
Yeah,
because it's hypocritical.
It's like being in an aeroplane and having a parachute, and the aeroplane's crashing towards the ground, and you're going, oh, I don't want to put that on. I don't want to put that. But how long are you going to wait? Are you going to wait for it till it's too late, till that aeroplane's about 1,000 foot off the ground before you jump out the plane? It's gone off.
No, you're still on. I'll just change the screen quick.
Oh, you could have told me what you was doing. I just had a ring of death. I thought it's gone.
No.
But are you going to wait till that plane's 1,000 foot and then jump out of the parachute, and then by the time you've pulled it's too late, you're going to on the ground? Or are you going to jump out of it and save your life? And this is the same as 61. It's there to save you. It's there to bring about and remove tyranny. What you're going to do is sit there till it's too late, and then they've took control of everything. Everybody's in the 15-minute city, and then you don't like what's happening, but then it's too late, because you ain't going to have the chance to unite and unify and fight, because you're all stuck in your little cities everywhere. That's too late.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Exactly. What I was saying earlier, because a lot of people are thinking I'm actually getting a message now. Right. See on that poster there, on that post is a basic list of the equipment and that you'll need, and there's a basic list of like the groups that have already said that they're interested in coming on this march, and that's their causes, not the groups, but that's the causes. Okay.
Back in 2 seconds, knife.
Yeah. Yes, there is other marches that lot using the word freedom and freedom. There have been people that saying the word freedom camp and stuff like this. That is nothing to do with this march. See the wording at the top there that says the Long March to Freedom 2. That is technically the logo for this march. Unless it has that exact logo, it is nothing to do with this march, and it is somebody else trying to do something else. So that's how you tell the difference. Okay. There is some doing it, like I said, but they're more about you turning up and just listen to some speeches. This ain't about it. It is now time for solutions. Okay, time for talking is over. Time for the solutions is now. Okay, so this is how you tell. Okay, so, and I don't mean to be thinking, but I can't keep answering hundreds of messages and inboxes and that lot to explain this. It's like that. So the Long March to Freedom 2, this is what this march is called. That is basically the logo, that wording. Okay, that is the main logo that you will see with anything to do with this. Okay, yes, there is similar wording on other stuff, but this is how you tell the difference. Okay. I know a lot of people sort of think this is why we need sort of answers. I know a lot of people sort of say, well, I can't walk very far, I can't carry certain things. Like I said, this is why this is bare basics. Okay, we're talking a sleeping mat, we're talking a sleeping bag, we're talking a tent. It should be quite good weather, so I'm not being funny. Even if you've got one of them £10 top-up tents, buy a tarp as well for a couple of quid, so you can throw over the top of it if it rains. So a bit of paracord, a bit of tarp, and a £10 top-up tent, and you should be okay. Trust me, I've stayed in Wales with that, and it sort of worked. So it does work, and we should have fairly good weather. But you just want to carry the basics. So don't try and bring the kitchen sink and try and bring all the things, because this is not about comfort. This is not a holiday. We are going to be saying no. We're going to be sorting out the solutions to our problems. Okay, so you've got to have that in your mind. There will be no solutions without sacrifice. So you're going to have to sacrifice a bit of comfort to do this. You're going to have. This is going to take some balls to do. Like I said, it's like, and I am going to try and play the video again in a minute, because it seems to be sorting itself out a bit. But it's like the sitting to rest of Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer that we did. Now, nobody's done anything like that since. Okay, we are the first people, and there was 8 of us that actually did it. There was some other known names that was involved around the time, but one of them was hiding down the road despite being bought a couple of tickets. One of them sat at the back of the event and pretended he wasn't with us until it was successful. Okay, so the people you see on that floor are the people that actually did it. If you don't see anybody there, they didn't do it. We had people outside that were supporting us. They was part of the day. They actually, because we'll tell you a funny story in a minute, because they helped us do this. But nobody's done anything like that. Nobody's actually took it to things like that. Turning up to a police station or turning up, and I'm not dissing anyone, but turning up to a vaccine centre and giving them a piece of paper that without following through with it or things like that is not the same as what we did. Okay, when you see the video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, we did this in 2018 before most people even knew that there was a movement. This was before COVID, before most people even realised that we had most of these problems. Before most people, I mean, when we did this, most people thought Agenda 21 was a conspiracy theory. They thought the WEF was there to basically be good for us. They thought the UN were a bunch of good guys, not the same people. You've got to remember, the UN are the same people that want to teach our children from the ages of like 3 to 4 about sexual partners and stuff like that. That's the UN doing this. Like I said, all these people, all these groups are there to actually completely destroy our way of life. We have to understand that. Okay, but that's how you tell if it's this march. If it hasn't got that logo, then it's not part of it. Okay, it's now time we all stand together. Okay, no one person and no one group is going to sort out the problems of this country, let alone the world. Okay, I can assure you. I mean, let's face it, how many years is Bono and that lot been around the world singing? They haven't solved world hunger yet, have they? I'm going to go.
No. And don't forget, it also went live around the world. It stopped all programs that was going at the time to go there. So live on a Saturday afternoon. So, you know, like you said, it takes balls to do stuff like that, and actually put your convictions where they are. But we were so sure that we got it right with 61. We took the risk, and it proved that we was correct, that it all does indeed exist, and that day proved it. But we don't, you know, like we've always done. We'll go and test it first. If we say this works, we'll go and test it first. We don't ask other people to do it. We do it, and then we prove to them, yeah, it works. Look, 61 works. So, you know.
Yep. Well, we're getting a little rumble through the thing again. So if I mute you, then you just have to unmute yourself, because you can hear me coming through on the delay. No, like Gary says, like I said, we went and during COVID, we went to Scotland Yard. Myself and Gary and a number of other people who are actually most of the people who are actually doing things, that actually put their money where their mouth is, actually go out there and do these things. They change things. This is why I'm sitting there saying now, if you've ever and you're gonna be held to your word, if you've ever been on Facebook or any other platform and gone, we just need to stand up, it's time for it's time for this, it's time for civil unrest, things like that. If you've ever said anything like that, if you've ever made out that we should do more than just go and stand there in the middle of the street, then you should be on this march. If you're not, then does your word really mean anything? Because this is actually action. This is standing up and this is doing something. This is going to be about bringing about solutions. So if you've ever said it, put your money where your mouth is. Be on this march. Make the sacrifices. Take that chance. Okay? Take that chance. You'll have to unmute yourself if you talk about.
Why is everybody so scared to go into 61? I don't get it. It's the most natural thing, and it's actually invigorating when you actually do it, because you know they can't touch you for what you do, because you're acting lawful, doing what the Constitution gives you the power to do, as long as you're lawful, peaceful, and you don't cause any loss or harm to another sovereign person. I don't class these treasonous traitors as sovereign. Sorry, I don't.
They're sovereign, but they're not the kind of sovereign that mean, because sovereign just means above rule or ownership, basically.
No, you know what I mean. I don't class them as sovereign, as in they cared about me. So if they don't care about me, then I don't care about them.
Well, that's exactly it. I'd agree in that. I'll say this. I'll say if they are willing to take away our rights and do this to us, then therefore they shouldn't have any rights. That's why it's like malfeasance. Malfeasance, still under common law, at a common law level, holds life in prison. Maybe these people should spend the rest of their lives in prison. I mean, I've said this before, me and Gary said before, imagine if all the MPs and everybody in the country that's involved in this, that's actually helped this and done this to the people, like Madazan and Matt and all that lot, imagine if these people had to spend the rest of their lives in prison, and every year we had what we call Traitors Day, because I do actually want that to be a holiday. Imagine if we enacted Traitors Day, and every single year we brought out people like Tony Blair and Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock and all these traitors who have committed tyranny and treason on these people. Imagine if we had a Traitors Day every year and all these people were taken out of prison and in chains, paraded through the streets of London, along the main street of London, down through Parliament and stuff like that, so the whole world can see this is what happens if you do this to the people. I'm not advocating that we kill them or we behead them or we hang them. I would rather have them set as a reminder for every generation to come, and for anybody who's thinking about it before, this is where you will end up. As I said, I don't advocate for killing them. I've said this before. Some people sort of hold that against me, but I don't. I believe they would serve a better. I think it would be better if we actually paraded these people, because they're all big now in their flash suits. But imagine in 3 years' time when they've been in prison. Imagine they're so beaten down. Imagine seeing them now walking through the streets. They wouldn't be so like the police and stuff like that who want to carry on this treason. They wouldn't be so scary then, would they? They would lose all their power. And this is what we need to do. That's how we teach our generation.
But you'd have to get them a newer truck as well now, to spray them with shit.
Yeah, but I suppose you could bring that out. You could bring back the old rotten tomatoes and all that lot, and they could be pelted with them. I think that would be fair enough. You know what I mean? I think that'd be fair enough. But I just can't condone murder.
Well, you wouldn't murder them, because that's no good. But what people don't understand as well, when you're in 61 and you go with the barons, when the barons take over, they will actually seize all their assets, ladies and gentlemen. So in the end, it will be them that will own nothing, but they won't be happy. So you've got the chance now to reverse what they're saying. Instead of you being owning nothing and being happy, they're going to own nothing, but they won't be happy because they're going to lose everything, because that's what treason in this country brings you when done properly. You lose everything. They have to pay everything they've stole back. Simple. Go on, Nate.
Yeah, exactly. But like you say, that their whole thing, the whole assets will be freezing. Even they won't even be able to get to their offshore accounts. So it'll be useless to them. So there'll be money or whatever, or their things just sitting in their deposit boxes. They'll never get to them. So one day then we can actually recover that. I will just say this, right? I'm going to try and play this video again because it seems to be a bit better now on a different device than what I was using before. Please go to this YouTube channel and subscribe to him, because he's kept this video going. He or she, I don't know who it is, but they've kept this video going and they deserve a subscription, I can assure you. But there's where you'll find a video if you want to watch it. I'll put the link to the video in the description. If you want the pack where the basically the paperwork is to go into 61, the link is actually in the description to this video. So just click the link in the description of this video, and it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. All you need to do is print it off and then just spend the money on the stamps. I mean, how to fill them out and what you do is all there in the instructions. Thanks to our Susie and that lot, because she helped with all that lot. I mean, but we would be at a loss, I can assure you. But all the instructions, everything are there. It walks you through it. There's also a video on this YouTube page that actually is, because some people don't like to read and write things, some people prefer a visual way, but there's also a video that shows you how, and you can actually play this to groups of people, because you can stop and start it, so you can actually do group things, but it tells you exactly how to do the whole process. It's very easy. It's not a hard process. It's there. It's all there for everything you need to do, and a few little extra bits as well if you want to do them. But the link's in the description to this video, so you just it's Google, it's on, I think it's Google something, Google Drive. So we've opened it up to everybody, so everybody can share this, everybody can download this, and what you'll be downloading is the start of a manual, okay, which is going to be a manual eventually. We're hoping by the time we finish, it's going to be a big book that will teach you about your rights. Will teach you about what can and can't be done, and teach you how to actually do what you need to do. Like it'll have notices and things like that. And just to add, because a lot of people say this didn't happen, like I said, like me and Gary said earlier, when we did this arrest with the Dragons, it wasn't followed through. But myself and Gary and the CMW team, Susie, we actually took up the gauntlet, and we actually pushed the police to put the evidence of these crimes to CPS. They actually put the case to CPS, okay, and they did that, and they stated quite clearly because evidence of crimes proven. That's why the police put it to CPS, because evidence of those crimes were proven in the paperwork we sent and the evidence we sent. Okay, so you'll also see in the pack there is a letter that you send to the police to say that I want these people prosecuted. Okay, we can also, and we're putting this out to all the groups as well. So all you groups that are doing the 5G and all that lot, all the information you're getting, if you unite with us, we can all put our information together, and we can actually widen this case to include all MPs and include all the people that are doing this. So if your group's got a lot of information, you've got evidence of these crimes, unite with us, help us do this, because that's what we need to do. We need to come together. So whether it be 5G, 15-minute cities, things like these are all a breach of our rights. This is all treason. This is all sedition and malfeasance. Unite with us. Let's all get together and use the evidence we have of these crimes, put it together in this case, and we'll have them all done. Like I said, let's do this, okay? I'm going to try and play a thing, but you'll find a letter in there, and in that letter, you'll find not only the Royal Mail postal number that we had when we sent the second copy off of the charges, but there is also the crime reference number, which many people have said that we haven't got, but you'll find it in that paperwork. So go and have a look and check out the crime reference number. Even though they've kind of shelved it and said it's not in the public's interest, I can assure you there's no statute limitation on treason. So it's not over. Time hasn't run out. There is no statute of limitations on treason. I mean, we can prosecute these people when the evidence and when it comes up, and this is the time is now. So let's do it. Right, is there anything you want to say quickly, Gary, before I try and play this video? Because it's like 2 and then we'll sort of drop out.
No, I'll just put the video on, and then when the videos come, we'll just come back in and say goodnight. But if it does start playing up, just cut it and we'll come in and say goodnight, and they'll just have to watch it on the.
Like I said, if it doesn't play properly, then I'll put the link into the video. But there's the YouTube channel it's on. Please give this YouTube channel a subscribe, okay? Because this is the only, it's not the full video, but it's the only one out there that hasn't either been, because mine got all wiped from my cloud. My whole cloud got wiped. So I had loads of videos of this, like from different angles. My whole cloud got wiped all of a sudden. Google doesn't seem to know what went on. It's very strange, they say. But this is the only full video up, so we need to protect this, and we need to give him some subscriptions because he's done a good job for the last 5 years. But I'm going to try and play the video now. If it doesn't work, what we do is I put the link in, but what I do is if you watch the video and then you'll see what we did in 2018. This is before COVID and before anybody sort of done anything really. And like I said, we actually are the first people to ever arrest a London mayor. And actually, we're actually the first people to ever do this. We want to start making history, but we want to make history as a nation again, like our nation has done many times before. So it's now time to unite. All right, I'm now going to play the video. And we're going to stay quiet, and then you have a watch.
I'm going to drop out now.
Oh.
Yeah, it ain't going to play, is he?
No, it's been a bit of a... I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because I'll see everything. I'm going to see if I can put it on, because I want to do a thing. Bear with me 2 seconds. I want to see if I can do something different. Where I should be able to share my screen on this. Nope. No, I don't seem to be able to have a thing to share my.
No. Well, they've got the link anyway, and now they've got the link. They can see it. So
It seems to be playing it to sound. I can try it and sort it again, but it's one of them. I don't think it's...
All people have got to remember is that they are sovereign. They hold the power. They've got the tools to sort this problem out. If they want to solve it, it's up to them. It's how badly they want the freedoms back, or how badly they want to be enslaved. If you badly want to be enslaved, then don't do nothing about it. But if you badly want your freedom and you want your children and future generations to have the freedom, then you've got to make this stand. It's that simple.
Exactly, and the time is now.
You ain't going to have much longer.
As far as the video is going to be on mine and Gary's YouTube, Facebook. I am actually going to try and share that video to my YouTube, so that full video, not our one, but this full video, I'm hoping to share to my YouTube to be able to watch it. I'll also try and put the link in this thing. It is worth watching. Listen very carefully to what's said and what's done. Because despite what you'll hear from a lot of people who try and put this down, and like I said, if you look at the fact, there is a crime reference number, so it's not a case of it was ignored. It was put to CPS. It's just they deemed it's not in the public's interest because not enough people actually backed the charges. That's how far we are. That's how far we are. We just need you lot, and this is why we're saying as well. And we can do more than that. We can, every single group out there, for the 5G mask, the 15-minute cities, all your evidence can be included in this case, which is an already established case, which has already been backed by the Metropolitan Police, which is already on record. We can put all your evidence in this as well, so we can all together actually bring the whole lot of them to justice. I say we do it.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap it up there then. Knife. Thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget the Long March to Freedom coming soon, August. So get ready.
August. And to the questions earlier, yes, as far as giving you a heads up with the exact date, that will be happening in the next week or two. Okay, so that literally will be happening the next week or so. We'll give you the actual date and the place. We're not going to give too much, but we'll tell you where you need to be and when you need to be, and then on the day, it'll all go from there.
Jolly good.
Right. Thank you for tuning, everybody. We'll be doing get live again in another day or two. We'll be also having Little Vet and Active back again soon to do another update. We've got quite a few things coming up. Again, Godfrey Bloom asked us if he can come back on again, so we'll probably have him on in the next few weeks or so, next month or so. One thing I do want to say as well, talking about, I think, because you'll hear a lot of people talking about like the pandemic and stuff like that. I can assure you that the reason why they have immunity and the reason why it's so hard is because they have immunity. But we're going to be having a special guest on soon who wrote a book, and this person has done a great deal of research that is going to help, and is also going to be part of the prosecutions that will actually bring these people down that did this with COVID. So we may not be able to do it with a certain vaccine, but I can assure you there's other evidence of crimes that we can use against these people. So stay tuned for that, because that's happening in July. But yeah, in the next couple of weeks or so, we're going to be releasing the actual date of the event, and will be the location it's going to start from. Not the exact location, but where you need to be to start. So get your tents, get your sleeping bags, get your stuff. Remember, try not to bring the kitchen sink, because you're going to be walking. We will be resting. We will be doing certain things. You're going to be walking. You've got to remember, you're going to be walking an average of 5 to 6 miles a day, which is not a great deal to some, but it can be a mammoth to some people. So, like I said, and we'll be trying to take our time and stuff like that. It is kid friendly if you want to bring your kids. So, like I said, this is not an all frills thing. It's going to be very, very basic. Like I said, we haven't got hotels and like camping sites and everything like strewn across the route and that lot with luxury facilities and stuff like that. We just haven't got that. What I can say we're going to do is we're going to make this educational. So you're going to learn a hell of a lot on this march, not just about everybody else's causes and what they've done and the information they've got. We're gonna be sort of learning a bit, and we're going to make it a bit fun for the kids and that as well. So I can assure you, parents, be warned, because what will be happening is there will be some role play, because both the adults and the children are going to learn what it's like from different aspects, because we're about to be taken into a 2-tier system. Okay, so there's going to be the rich and there's going to be the peasants. They're going to go back to the old feudal system. That's what Gary says when it's a billionaires club. Okay, millionaires won't be in there. There'll be two classes, the rich and the poor. Okay, so on this march, what we're going to do is, those of you who bring your children, you have to carry all the equipment. So back in the day, you used to have lords and ladies and things like that. They would bring servants along if they was doing something like this back in 1215. So what's going to happen is from the hours of say 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. the adults are going to be the servants. You are going to be carrying all the houses and the gear and the food and preparing the food. The children are going to be the lords, the ladies, the knights, whatever they want to be in that manner. And we're going to do a bit of role play along the way. They're going to learn a little bit. There's going to be a bit of sort of like learning, education. It's going to be kind of a little homeschooling type thing. So be prepared for that.
Yeah.
There's going to be some other things as well. We're going to try and throw in the mix as well. So this is, like I said, there's no other march like this. There's no other march like this. Okay, right. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll tell you more about it on the next Long March to Freedom 2 live. But for now, good night, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Good night, guys. Thanks. Cheers for tuning in. Speak to you all soon. Have a great weekend that's coming up.